Oi oi girls and boys and everything in between, it's Ace Trainer Liam back with another episode of Form Fight. Form Fight is a series where we take a look at a Pokemon with more than one form, or a counterpart Pokemon, or a branched evolution. We take a look at the differences between the Pokemon forms in question, we try and work out which one is the best. And just so we can see these Pokemon in action on the battlefield, we also have a Metronome Battle between the competitors just for a little bit of fun. If you're a fan of Form Fight and you're ready for more, make sure you hit the like button, show your appreciation for this series, and of course hit subscribe if you're new so you never miss an episode. With all that out the way, let's take a look at today's challenges. Today we're going to be looking at the two forms of Groudon, which are Groudon and Primal Groudon. Now whenever you have a Groudon in your possession, it will always be in its normal form. However, a Groudon holding a red orb will automatically primally revert at the start of a battle into Primal Groudon. But what makes these two Pokemon forms so different? Let's take a look. Regular Groudon stands at 3.5 meters tall and weighs 950 kilograms. Whereas Primal Groudon stands at 5 meters tall and weighs 999.7 kilograms. They both share a Pokédex entry which reads, Groudon is said to be the personification of the land itself. Legends tell of its many clashes against Kyogre, as each sought to gain the power of nature. Through primal reversion and with nature's full power, it will take back its true form. It can cause magma to erupt and expand the landmass of the world. Appearance-wise, both look like hulking red dinosaurs, with Primal Groudon having a much darker underside and having its markings made up of more of a yellow lava-like substance. In their shiny forms, regular Groudon switches from red to a greenish kind of yellow, whereas Primal Groudon gains that greenish yellow colour on its claws, but with its main body switching from red to an intense black. Now let's look at the typing, weaknesses and resistances of these Pokemon forms. In its regular form, Groudon is a pure ground-type Pokemon, making it weak to water, grass and ice-type attacks. It resists poison and rock-type moves and is completely immune to electric-type moves. As for Primal Groudon, it's a dual-type ground and fire-type Pokemon. This makes it weak to only ground and water-type attacks, with the water-type weakness being a 4 times weakness. Although this isn't a big concern to Primal Groudon for reasons I'll talk about later. This Pokemon form resists poison, bug, steel, fire and fairy, and is also immune to electric type attacks. So now let's move on and have a look at the stats and abilities of these Pokemon forms. Groudon stats, much like we said for Kyogre in a previous episode, are typical box art legendary stats. In fact, they are actually the same as Kyogre's stats, except for the attack and defense stats being switched with the special attack and special defense stats respectively, making Groudon a much more physical Pokemon. It only gets access to one ability, which is Drought, which summons harsh sunlight for 5 turns when Groudon enters the battle. Of course, this ability works in Groudon's favour as it reduces the power of water-type moves and increases the power of fire-type moves, giving it more staying power against 2 of its 3 weaknesses. As for Primal Groudon, it gains a significant increase to its attack and defense stats, much in the way Primal Kyogre does with its own special stats. The result simply makes Primal Groudon a much bulkier, harder-hitting threat. Its only ability is Desolate Land, which summons extremely harsh sunlight whenever Primal Groudon enters the field, which is very similar to harsh sunlight but also has the benefit of causing all water-type moves to fail, thus effectively eliminating Primal Groudon's 4 times weakness to water and making it only have to worry about ground-type moves, making this Pokemon even more menacing. Now it's time for me to decide which of these two forms of Groudon I prefer, and honestly, this time I'm going Primal. Primal Groudon just looks so much more terrifying. Like, when you look at Primal Groudon and then you look at regular Groudon, Groudon just kind of looks kind of cartoony, kind of almost childlike, I guess, whereas Primal Groudon just looks so terrifying and so evil. I think it's because you can't quite see like its eyes and stuff like that because they blend in more to its body. It just looks a little bit more intimidating and it looks scarier. Not to mention, obviously, it has the better stats of the two. Its ability is absolutely incredible, eliminating that 4 times water weakness. Pokemon with one weakness just really do it for me. They're really, really great to have around because there's a lot less to worry about. And with Primal Groudon, it's just an absolute killer. But of course, it's not just up to me, it's up to you guys to decide which is your favorite. But before you do, let's see these Pokemon on the battlefield. It's time for the Metronome Battle. As always, I will point out before we get started, these Pokemon have max IVs in all stats, 0 EVs in all stats, they're not holding any held items, they have neutral natures. The only advantage or disadvantage either of them gets comes from their base stats and their typing. Everything else is at the mercy of the Metronome. Let's go. Here we go, it's Groudon versus Primal Groudon, the battle of the Lava Plume Landmass Boyos. Here we go, everybody's entering the battlefield looking absolutely beastly and fantastic. This is certainly going to be an interesting battle, and quite a tough one at that for everybody involved. We see Drought coming into effect, but that's automatically going to be overridden by Primal Groudon's Desolate Land, which of course overpowers any weather conditions unless Primordial Sea comes into effect from a Kyogre, which we don't have to worry about here. We see regular Groudon starting things off with Leaf Blades. That is going to do neutral damage to the fire and ground type Primal Groudon. And here we see Shiny Primal. Look how beautiful that thing is. Coming out with Recycle. Just going to waste the first turn. Obviously got a lot of confidence there. We see regular Primal coming through with Mega Drain. That is going to be super effective on regular Groudon there. And I'm going to heal up that little bit of damage. Not quite to full HP, but it certainly got close to full HP there. Here's Shiny Groudon going for sheer cold, but it is avoided by Primal Groudon there, so not a great turn for the regular Groudon team. Here's regular Groudon with Toxic Thread onto regular Primal. That's a beautiful move. It looks lovely anyway. But we see the speed drop on that Primal and the poison come into effect as well. That's a beautiful play because poison on these Primals is going to limit the amount of time they're on the battlefield. We see a Growl coming out, lowering the attack of both the regular Groudon. So that's a little bit of an insurance policy there because obviously the majority of the defensive bulk is on the Primal side. We see a Crab Hammer coming out, but of course water type moves will evaporate all the way throughout this battle. That extremely harsh sunlight is always going to be there. Aqua Jet is also going to evaporate, so it's also a hindrance to the Primal side. The Primal side also will be unable to use any water type attacks. No water type attacks in this battle are going to land at all. Here's Shiny Primal with a Dragon Tail, taking advantage of its physical attack stat. And there you go. That was a beautiful little hit. Almost bringing regular Groudon to half HP there. Of course, the Hail is not going to come into effect because of the harsh sunlight. Just supersedes everything. Shiny Groudon goes for a Chip Away. I mean, chip damage is better than no damage, am I right? Isn't that just an ongoing theme in these Metronome battles? Regular Primal comes in with a Head Smash. This is going to be brutal. Well, it's going to be resisted, actually, because of the ground typing, but it's still brutal coming from a Primal Groudon because there's just so much power behind it. But we do see it slowly fading to that poison. It's going to have some problems. Here's the Shiny Primal with Rototiller, which of course is going to fail. We seem to see this once every Metronome battle, and it always fails because we haven't done a Grass-type battle yet in Form Fight. Here we go with Infestation coming out from Shiny regular Groudon, which is going to hit the Primal that's already poisoned, regular Primal. So regular Primal will now take poison and infestation damage every turn. We see a foul play coming out from regular Groudon, using Primal Groudon's own attack stat against it for significant damage. How's it going to respond to this? It's going to respond with Heart Swap. I mean, not the greatest of ideas, because you're switching stat changes, and that's not good because you're at -1 attack now because you've taken -1 attack from your opponent. There's the poison damage, there's the infestation. It is not going to be a very long battle for regular Primal here. This is all down to Shiny Primal at this point to save the battle. Waterfall is going to fail. He's not having much luck though, is this boy? Come on, regular Primal, what have you got in mind? Goes for Drill Peck. This could well be your last attack in this battle, so at least it was a physical one. Didn't do a great deal of damage though, as regular Groudon comes back in with a heal block on the opposing team, which means that the Primals can't even get rid of that poisoning or maybe stall by recovering or anything like that for the rest of it. Oh, there's a Perish Song coming out from Shiny Groudon. This isn't good for anyone involved. This could very much influence the end of the battle. There we see the regular Primal going down to the poison. Didn't even need another turn of infestation. Everyone's Perish count is at 3 now, and things are looking scary. I mean, it's in the best interest of Shiny Primal to finish both of these Pokemon off. Solar Blade, though, that could well do it. Oh my goodness, and because the sunlight's in effect, it's going to happen in 1 turn. Oh my word, that is the opening that Shiny Primal needed. Is it enough? Doesn't quite take out Shiny regular Groudon, but oh my goodness, here comes normal Groudon, going with the Chip Away, doing a little bit more chip damage. You need to do more damage than that. There is a Perish Song in effect Here is shiny regular Groudon. What's it going to do? Goes for Bolt Strike. It's not going to affect anybody in this battle because everyone in this battle is immune to electric type attacks. My goodness, the perish counts all dropped to 2, but shiny Primal has put itself in a fantastic position. If it gets a Precipice Blades or an Earthquake, it's in the driver's seat and it's won. We see Crush Claw not doing a lot of damage, but does drop the defense of the Primal the Primal Groudon, who's going to respond with Worry Seed, changing the ability of shiny regular Groudon, but it's not going to make much of a difference apart from the fact that it can't use Rest, but it's not going to want to use Rest because then it'll die in 2 turns because of the Perish Song. It wants to eliminate the Primal. Goes for Astonish. It's not going to do a great deal of damage, but it's damage nonetheless. It brings that Primal that little bit closer to death, but not quite. This Primal, if it gets lucky with the Metronome, could swing this one round. Gets Mega Horn, that is going to be resisted, I believe. But it doesn't matter because it is going to knock out that shiny regular Groudon. It's not resisted. I don't know why I thought ground resists bug. I'm an idiot. It's fine. We see a Tail Whip coming out from regular Groudon. However, is that going to be helpful in this battle? The Perish count drops to 0 and Primal is the first to go down, leaving Groudon standing. So here is your winner. The regulars beat the Primals. That's incredible. Well done to the regular Groudon team for winning with that clutch Perish Song. So you've heard what I've got to say, you've seen these Pokemon forms on the battlefield, now it's time for you to decide which of these do you prefer. Is it Groudon or is it Primal Groudon? Let me know in the comments and explain to everybody why your pick is the absolute best. And that'll wrap it up for another episode of Form Fight. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe. It super duper helps the channel out. Of course, if you'd like to support the channel like these guys down here do and see my videos before anyone else, you can pledge to my Patreon using the link down in the description. But until next time, I'm Ace Trainer Liam. Keep on training.